was probably about 2 or 3 days afterwards that it was suspected that there was a bomb on board my mother's plane, killing her and in total 329 people. At the same time that bomb exploded, another bomb blew up in Tokyo airport, also destined for a similar airline as my mother's, killing 2 additional people, 2 baggage handlers. It made me very, very angry. I didn't quite understand what death was at 12 years old, but I understood I wouldn't see my mother again. The last image that I have in my head, in my brain, of my mother is not her saying goodbye to me, not her giving me a hug or a kiss. It's of her lying, her body parts lying on a table. That's the last image. That's the image of terrorism that they need to understand. The image that they may perceive as terrorism is of change for their cause, but that's not the image of terrorism. It's of the innocent people who suffer. And they need to understand how wrong it is for children to go through that, or how wrong it is. I recount the story of one of the individual civilians who was out in the Atlantic Ocean that day, who helped recover bodies. And one of them who tells a story of picking what he thought was a bag in the ocean, part of the wreckage, and then discovering it was a little baby, under a year old, and how he had to put that baby into a garbage bag, and how utterly wrong, how disgusting it feels in my mouth to say that babies don't belong in garbage bags. And that's what I would tell those individuals too, that they need to understand, and I hope they would understand that. We were unfortunate in being victims in that it took over 20 years for this to be investigated and it to come to the completion of a trial. So earlier on in my life, after my mother died, I made a decision to try and enter the justice system so that I could try and do some good to help victims, to help chase after criminals, and to try to make our legal system stronger. Part of our goal as well is to hopefully meet, whether it's virtually or in person, those people who are down a path towards radicalization, and to help them to stop and think twice about what they're going to do. Another element that has been very important for us has been, we turned away money several years ago from the government, as we recognized that money wouldn't bring back our loved ones. Instead, we asked the government to establish a research fund to fund research for victim service providers. We thought the best legacy to the loved ones we lost was to put this money forward into that research program, which is in the millions of dollars, in order to protect the future. And that was our way of giving back to our country, giving back to our citizens, and giving back to the world, honoring our loved ones. With each research project funded, with each dollar that goes forward, we know it's going to better protect us, better serve us, open up that dialogue with communities, and hope to eradicate terrorism and the effects of terrorism. I think I would like to share my experience on how much damage this caused myself, my family, and thousands of families around the world, and how much pain they caused. It's cowardice to attack innocent people, to attack children under the age of 12. It's something I would consider if the terrorists were willing to say, I'm sorry. It has to start with them, to acknowledge they did wrong, acknowledge they hurt, acknowledge they caused suffering, acknowledge that terrorism is wrong, is what they need to do, that extremism is wrong, radicalization is wrong. And that would be the good opening to a dialogue that I'd be willing to have in our country. And many of us recognized very early on that no amount of money would ever bring back my mother, would bring back the other children and friends that I lost, and the hundreds of other people lost. It became our main goal as the Victims' Families Association to advocate for change. And that change involved, our reason for being is to ensure that those government institutions that are responsible to protect us against terrorism. We're also very vocal about engaging other parts of our communities and groups, not just government, but it's all of our responsibility to engage all communities, to engage all individuals in this type of dialogue of promoting tolerance, promoting acceptance, combating terrorism, speaking out against violence and hatred, and working with groups so we can understand each other. I was 12 years old when my mother was murdered on board Air India Flight 182, with the plane crashing off the coast of Ireland, killing all 329 people on board.